Hey guys, Shy Got Picks here. Hope everyone's doing well, having a great week. We're here to break down UFC Vegas 96, Cannonier versus Borralho. We're going to be going over every single fight on the card, the best bets, what fights we should avoid, round props, as well as any possible parlays. Congrats to Kiara for winning our $15 contest. She gets 200 strikes. The total for significant strikes in the main event turned out to be 204. So super close, actually. This week, we're going to be giving away $5 to the closest guess. So comment below for your guess for the total amount for this weekend's main event. Maybe you'll win this time. Last week, we didn't do great on picks, but we did do well on bets. I told everyone to be very careful adding nickel, gamma, and even urseg. They were dog or passes in my mind, and sadly, they all lost, even though I predicted them to win. We did avoid disaster, though, by not adding them to our bets. We did cash in on Walker moneyline and even from Ricardo Ramos moneyline, who really, Kulabel should have ended. I got really lucky there. Anyways, this week we got a card full of chalky lines. It'll be very hard to extract value out of this card, as really there's not many bets that I like, and the only ones that I do like are extra juiced. Not the best card by UFC. Usually bad looking cards bring a lot of value for bettors, just not here. We'll see. Let's get right into it. For the first fight in the card, we got Cong Wang versus Victoria Leonardo. This won't be a very quick one. We have a chalky card for the weekend. And of course, we start off the night with the chalkiest fight. Wang comes into this fight as a negative 1,000 favorite. Leonardo currently stands at plus 800, and it's pretty obvious as to why. When you look at the tape for Wang, she's legit. She has really good hands, sets up her combos really well. She's very technical, has a head kick KO in her resume, and her last win was via guillotine. So she does have some finishes. In her last fight, she was negative 1,800 favorite, so she seems to be a heavy favorite always. The reason as to why she's always a favorite is probably because her first fight was in, if you look her up, if you look up Cong Wang's Tapology or Sure Dog, you'll see that her first win was against Valentina Shevchenko. Although it wasn't kickboxing, that does say a lot. I don't care if it was in 2015. Leonardo is pretty much garbage, truthfully. She's 9-5. Her last fight, she lost via first round knockout. It's been over a year since that last fight. And now she's facing an elite kickboxer in Wang. Wang just finished dominating her last fight in the stand-up game. I think Wang's stand-up will piece Leonardo apart, and she'll get it done inside the distance. The levels in skill are way too far apart amongst these two. Give me Wang round 1 or 2 knockout. Up next in the card, we got Josiane Nunes versus Jaqcueline Cavalcanti. Nunes is much shorter at 5'2". She has a lot more power than Cavalcanti. But Cavalcanti is a lot more technical in the boxing. She likes to go at her own pace, use at her length. She does have a 3-inch reach advantage as well. But with this fight, it's more of a coin flip to me. I can see both worlds where Nunes makes this a scrappy fight where she can, close the distance and land some bombs that Cavalcanti isn't really ready for. But I can also see Cavalcanti utilizing her length and being technical and landing her jabs at will, picking her shots. The height discrepancy is big here, though. Nunes is really, really short. It's going to be very tough for her to get in close. I think it'll be tough for her, especially early. I can see this going either way, really. Nunes does have really long arms for her size, but it is a toss-up. I honestly hate this fight to predict, really mainly because Cavalcanti is at negative 200, pushing even higher. I want to go with Nunes because of her odds, but I do kind of think Cavalcanti wins this because of her length. It's really tough, but I will go with Nunes, really. She does need to make this a tough fight. She does have a lot more power, but as a bettor, over 2.5 rounds is at negative 250. I think that's an absolute lock, and I definitely think this fight goes at to the decision at negative 220. So it's really tough to go with. I think this is more of a dog or pass situation because Nunes is really tough. She has some really good power. So ultimately, give me Nunes by decision. I will be avoiding this one though as a bettor. Up next on the card, we got Jose Medina versus Zach Reese. Another very chalky line. Zach Reese opens up as a negative 400 favorite. Now he's soaring to negative 550. Zach Medina is making his debut after losing in the Contender Series in 2023. I don't really get it, to be honest. I get it's maybe to pad Reese's record a bit, but I don't really get why you would even need to do that. Reese is exciting. He doesn't really need it, to be honest. Every single one of his fights have ended in the first round. He has 5 first-round knockout wins, 1 first-round submission, and 1 first-round knockout loss to Cody Brundage. This is a guy who finished Julian Marquez in 20 seconds, landing a beautiful uppercut that dropped him. I guess the question is whether or not this fight goes over round 1 because he's never seen past round 2. So really, we don't know his cardio. I wouldn't really think it's bad. Medina does have a chin now. Medina came into his last fight as a plus 700 underdog. He lasted the entire 3 rounds. He shows that he can grapple, he can be a dog. Not the most technical or skillful fighter, but he doesn't stop and he doesn't quit. Albeit Gadziadzulov is more of a grappler. That's the guy he faced when he was a plus 700 underdog. But that's the question here. Will Medina last more than a round? It's tough. I think Reese is much more talented here. I think his stand up is much better. I think he gets it done inside the distance. Over 1.5 rounds is at plus 125, and I kind of like it. It's kind of tough. But I don't know because Reese should also very much be able to get it done in the first round. Medina is tough, but very hittable. So ultimately, I will be going with Reese, round one knockout. I could see it going to the second, but regardless, he's finishing Medina in this fight. Up next on the card, we got Viacheslav Borshchev versus James Llontop. This is another fight that I won't be touching at all. We got Viacheslav coming into this fight 7-4-1. His last 5 fights, he's 1-3-1. He is coming into this as a negative 250 favorite. He's 5'11" with a 69-inch reach. Meanwhile, James Llontop is 14-3. He's 4-1 in his last 5. He's 25 years old, 6'0", and 73-inch reach. So he does have a 4-inch reach advantage here. This fight should be a lot closer in odds, I think. Llontop is a good striker. He was a prospect that came into his UFC debut as a negative 450 favorite. But he did lose to Chris Padilla via first-round submission, so it's not the best look. Slava is very technical, but he did get dropped in his last 2 fights. He got pieced up badly by Chase Hooper. Plus, he's only 1-3-1 in his last 5 fights. His record is only 7-4-1. He's a fun fighter to watch. I think this fight will probably end in a knockout, but at negative 220, I can't go behind that as a better whatsoever. I think this is much more of a coin flip. I do think Slava can get this done, but again, he's been dropped in his last 2. Llontop does show power, but Borshchev is more technical. So I'll probably be going with the technique here and the more technical fighter, but it's a very fun fight to watch. But as a bettor, you just can't touch this fight. I would not be shocked whatsoever if Top knocks this guy out. We've seen him get dropped in his last 2, 7-4-1, and he's 1-3-1 in his last 5. So it's just really, really tough. This is absolutely a dog or pass if you're gonna pick any side here. If you're gonna bet anything, I would say that this fight goes inside the distance. But ultimately, I got Slava round 2 knockout. I hate the pick. Um, I might change it by the end of the week, but that's what I got for now. Up next on the card, we got Dennis Bazukja versus Francis Marshall. Marshall comes into this fight off of 2 losses where he got beat up badly by Dolgarian in the first and lost a unanimous decision to Gomis. Bazooka's UFC career started off rough. His first loss was to Sean Woodson, who is 6 inches taller and had an 8-inch reach advantage, so that's kind of whatever. And then he loses to Jamal Emmers, but if you look at it more, Bazukja was an underdog in these 2 fights. In every other fight, he was a favorite, and he did win those fights. So he loses when he's expected to lose and wins when he's expected to win. Marshall does come into this fight with a short notice as well. Bazukja was set to fight Danny Silva until that was scrapped on Tuesday. Bazukja has some good leg kicks, uses his range well, waits to throw his shots, looks to counter, but he sometimes stays on his back foot a bit too much. But like I said, he is looking to counter, which he does really well. Against Matthews in his last fight, he used his jab well. He ended up knocking out Matthews in the 3rd round, where Matthews was seen as a rising prospect. So Bazukja has shown some power as well. I got Bazukja here. I figure by finish or maybe even decision. So double chance is probably a great bet here. But yeah, give me Bazukja round 3 knockout. Still very young. Could be a very good fresh start for him here. On the card, we got Edmen Shahbazyan versus Gerald Meershaert. Another fight that's chalky and not overly exciting. Both of these fighters are 2-3 in their last 5 fights. Edmen's stock has dramatically dropped ever since he lost to Brunson. He was this guy that was touting himself to be, the youngest champion ever, was being pushed because he trained with Ronda Rousey forever. But ever since his loss to Brunson, he lost to Hermanson, which is not a bad loss. Then he lost to Imavov. So they dropped him down in competition, had him face Lungiambula, who he beat, which, as he should. Then he gets knocked out by Anthony Hernandez. Again, not bad losses. And finally, he comes back and beats AJ Dobson. Most of Shahbazyan's wins do come by knockout, though. 85% of them, actually. With Meershaert, after that Chimaev loss, he wins 3 in a row, shows us, maybe he can still fight. He beats Bruno Silva, which at the time looked amazing, but now that's aged like absolute milk. Silva just lost to Weidman, so who really cares that he beat Silva? Then he lost 2 in a row to Pfeiffer and Petrosky, which fair. Then he beats Brian Barbereno, who's trash, truthfully, in his last fight. And when it comes down to it, I don't really know, man. This card is just so poor. You know, it's tough when fighters don't really look so impressive, so you're guessing on who's going to look more impressive than the other. I could see Meershaert being able to grapple with Edmen, get a submission, because I don't think Shahbazyan is all that good, truthfully, and especially because he's more of a striker than a grappler. But ultimately, I think you got to go with Shahbazyan here. I figure he knocks Meershaert out. GM3 is only getting older. We've seen him get knocked out before. So it's tough. I won't touch this at all either. But give me Shahbazyan in round 2 knockout. But this is just not a fight I'm just going to be touching at all. Because I really wouldn't be surprised if GM3 finds another submission. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But give me Shahbazyan round 2 knockout. Up next on the card, we got Michael Morales versus Neil Magny. This is another very short one. It's just too chalky. Michael Morales opens up as a negative 650 favorite, and now he's at negative 900. So there's just pretty much, we kind of know who's going to win here. Morales is much younger at 25 years old. He's undefeated. He's been in the UFC for 2.5 years now, so he's not new to this anymore. Neil Magny is just way past his prime. He's too old. He's 37 now. It's like Leach all over again, like last week. He shouldn't be here anymore. And, when it's all said and done, we're going to see Neil Magny on the canvas unconscious and wondering why he's still fighting these very skilled opponents. I get it. He beat Mike Mallet, but Morales is no Mallet. Morales is actually proven. Mallet has an extremely padded record. He got fraud checked. Morales won't get fraud checked here. I think he's way better on the feet than Magny. He's very talented. Magny is just, I think his career is done here. It's just like Leach. Like I said, I love Magny. He's very fun to watch, but time catches up to all of us. I think Magny is tough, so I do think this will see the judges. Morales doesn't have the most power, so give me Morales by decision. Up next on the card, we got Ryan Loder versus Robert Valentin. Finally, a fight that I'm actually excited for. This one should be a fun one to watch. This one is the finality of the Ultimate Fighter, which is why we've all never heard of these fighters before, unless you've been watching the Tough season. Robert Valentin is a lot like Andreas Gustafsson, who just fought in the Contender Series this week. They even share the same tattoos. I'm going to assume that it's a Nordic tattoo. Both these fighters are impressive. Both are very good overall. Valentin has some very impressive striking, but the question here is being that Loder is a wrestler, and we have seen Valentin get taken down before. I like Valentin, though. I think he's entertaining. He has good striking. He has good finishing abilities. Valentin also has some really good BJJ. His last 5 fights, he's won by finish, and 3 of them were by submission. I think Loder is really good. I can definitely see him landing some good takedowns. But considering that Valentin has some good submission abilities and just overall finishing abilities, I will be going with Valentin. I figure he gets this done inside the distance as well. I see his price getting more and more expensive as fight night approaches, so I'd take him now. Give me Valentin round 2 knockout. Up next in the card, we got Angela Hill versus Tabatha Ricci. This is the co-main event. I can't believe that this is the co-main event, but what can you do? I don't really know what they're doing here, but let's get into it. Angela Hill has a terrible record, but that's really only because she's been cheated out by so many wins due to the judges. The judges really don't seem to like her, but she's actually really good. She has some really good boxing. She has wins over Denise Gomez, Emily Ducote, and even Lupita Godinez. Only thing that worries me here is that she is 39 now. She's a dog nonetheless. Tabatha Ricci, I don't really think she won that last fight against Pennington. She lost to Godinez as well, who we just mentioned lost to Angela Hill. Ricci has some good BJJ, but she really does struggle to get her opponents to the ground. I'm going to go with the experience here. I think the striking difference is clear here, but she does lose to grapplers, but I don't really think Ricci is a grappler. I think she's a submission artist. She's no Jandaroba. She's no Mackenzie Dern. But yeah, give me Angela Hill by decision. I think this absolutely goes the distance, absolutely hits the over 2.5 rounds, but watch those be like, negative 500. Hill by decision will most likely be plus money. I'll take that. Give me Hill by decision. Up next on the card, we got the main event, Jared Cannonier versus Caio Borralho. Jared Cannonier comes into this as a plus 170 dog. He's 40 years old, 5'11", 77.5-inch reach. Meanwhile, Borralho comes in here 16-11 as a negative 200 favorite. He's 31 years old, 6'1", and a 75-inch reach. So he is taller, but he does have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Jared Cannonier is good, yes, but he's 40 years old now. That must be mentioned. He fought 2 months ago and got knocked out. I hate that, especially against Barralho, who's really good. Barralho comes into this fight fighting out of the Fighting Nerds gym, where Carlos Prates actually fights out of as well. He just finished knocking out Paul Craig, submitted Oleg Sachuk. He's very good at BJJ. His striking has improved a lot lately. He's taller. I just think these two are on completely different trajectories. I think this is an easy pick with Borralho. Borralho is not only fast, he starts off very fast. And while Cannonier picks his shots, I figure Caio finds some takedowns as well, and maybe even finds a submission here, or maybe even a knockout. This is only 2 months after that fight for Cannonier. That's way too early for a 40-year-old. At negative 180, negative 200, this is insane value, especially if you caught it at negative 180. There's no way that price tag is going to stay the same for Borralho. I figure he gets towards negative 280, negative 300 by fight night. So take him now, truthfully. One of those plays that I truly like. I think it's the only value on this. There's not many value bets on this card. So, I think you got to go with Borralho here, negative 180, negative 200. It's an easy pick for me. Give me Borralho. I think he gets it done inside the distance, especially if it's going to be a 5-rounder. Give me Borralho round 2 submission. Well, that's it for me. Those are my breakdowns for UFC Vegas 96, Cannonier versus Borralho. Do let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? As always, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe, as these videos do take me some time to make. If they happen to help you out, it would be a great way to show some support. Also, don't forget about our contest. Whoever guesses the closest gets $5. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you next time. Stay up.